Hi there, everybody in the FFBE global community. Garrett's here with our Ask an Old Mog question of the week. And to be quite honest with you, today's is one that I am not 100% sure I'm going to be able to do a really good job of answering, but I'm going to show you what I can. This question actually comes from one of the admins, Emily, and she asked me to do a video about this, so here we go. Emily wants to know something very important. How can we chain better? My answer, unfortunately, is that we're going to need to practice, but I do actually have some tips and some things that I want to show you, as well as demonstrating, why chaining is so important. So if you've not had much experience with this, or you've not done a successful chain before with a good strong cap, chaining and capping multiplies your damage significantly, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you in the game. And it's built into the way trials and stuff are designed, because some trials you really want to burst down in one turn with a really big finishing hit. And if you can't chain properly, or if you don't know how to do it, or if you can't figure out how to do it, like, it can really make it harder to beat some trials. So, obviously, very important to figure this out. There are a few catches to this, and I only have experience with the iOS version of the game. I have an iPhone, and I have heard that compared to other platforms like Android, like, it's easier to chain on the Android than it is on the iPhone. I can only speak from myself. Like, I struggle with chaining sometimes with certain chain families, and you're going to see that here in just a second. So let's go over some tips. Maybe if you have an iPhone and you need some tips with this, maybe this will help out. So, a couple things you want to try and make sure your units have the same type of moves, the same type of frames. Obviously, very important. They chain together, they work together. You want to try and do quick, light taps rather than firm presses when you're doing the taps. I have found that it's best if I put my phone on a flat surface and I use two fingers to tap each one, or one, two, three, or whatever, depending on what I'm doing. I find that that works best for me. I'm gonna try and demonstrate that here. I know you can't see my phone while I'm doing it, but I'm gonna try. Make sure your units have the same element. That's gonna build your chain faster. If you can't figure it out, try and use a tag team unit. And then one that I'm going to show you that I think is really cool is to actually combine different chain families or the number of units that you bring to your party. So to demonstrate all this, we're going to go into the vortex, into the training dummy, and we're going to see what it looks like. I like to get here through the exchange button. It's just kind of a quick way to get there. Once you're in the castle, you go to town menu and Tower of Wind. And if you've never seen this before, you can practice doing pretty much anything in the against this dummy. Our team is Masterminds on both types of Elenas, and then the tag team unit, Charlotte and Physalis. So we're going to take a look at some of the stuff that they can do. And then I also brought a capper, Ferris. So we're going to see kind of what the benefit of chaining is. And so we'll go into that. And we're just going to fight this up. Now, all these units are not equipped with anything unless it's like their TMR or something that's going to be required to give them triple cast. So just keep that in mind. This is totally naked unit time. So, like I said, you want to queue up the same type of abilities and tap them at the same time. So we're going to look at Masterminds on. You can go to his triple here. Every ability that has chaining has this little like SR, BS, whatever that's like floating next to it. That tells you what family it's in. The easiest one, in my opinion, hands down, is going to be Bolting Strike. So we're just going to do 3 times Bolting Strike with Zon. That's the BS chain. We're going to do the same thing with Elena. So BS is her Blade of Crystal move, 3 times. For Bolting Strike, I usually don't have this problem. I can usually just tap with my thumb and it's not a big deal. But I'm going to do the 2-finger technique. I've got my phone laying on a flat surface on my desk, and I'm just going to put 1 finger over Zon, 1 finger over Elena, and just tap. And we should see the chain and the damage boost go all the way across and get a full chain. That's pretty much it, right? So the chain built up, it does more damage based on me being able to time that properly. Now, some chain families are harder than others. I have come to find out. 132 million damage, in case anyone's keeping score. We're going to try Stardust ray chaining. Now, I have found that Stardust ray chaining is very, very difficult. I find that the chain breaks really easily, usually in the middle, after the first or second cast, but not always. Like, sometimes I can do this and sometimes I can't. So we're going to try that, demonstrate that here. Blade of the Heavens, and then Zahn's Stardust Ray move. Usually for me, this breaks after about 10 hits, and then I just start to see like, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or like, another set of 10, something like that. But let's try it out. Okay, lo and behold, I actually perfect chained it. It went all the way up to 60 or 59. So that's uncommon. To prove how uncommon that is, we're going to try that another round. Usually it looks more like this. I'm going to do this the old thumb method, right? So I've got my thumb. Here we go. Yeah, so usually it breaks and starts over, and it's just not a very good chain. Does less damage. So obviously it becomes very important to time it right to get a hang of it. Yeah, way less damage. Like that's like stupid. But yeah, so it can be done. Obviously, two finger method seems to work better for me. There we go. So that's Stardust Ray Chaining. The one that I'm not good at all is the AR chain, which is another really common one, the Oriole Ray. We're going to try it, and I'm probably going to screw it up really bad, but we're going to see. So we're going to use Starlight Alina instead of regular Alina this time. I'm going to turn my phone sideways since I've got the units on top of each other. Again, two finger method, and see what we get. Yeah, see, it's going up high and then dropping down, and then going up high and dropping down, and like that one's okay. Like it does so many hits that like, you're probably gonna get some good chains in there, but it's gonna make it really hard to finish. So what I usually do is this last step here: combine different families or the number of units, and we're just gonna reload here. And I use more units to build up our chain. You can do the same thing with Stardust Ray, by the way. So like I find if I'm trying to build up a really good chain with Stardust Ray, sometimes bringing like 3 or 4 Stardust Ray chainers instead of just 2 does better. So let's see, reload. I add in Alina's Oriole Ray chaining, and now we've got 3 chainers. Let's see if we do any better. See, there you go. Added more chainers, the chain didn't break. 267 is a pretty high number. That's going to get you that perfect score that you need in Clash of Wills and Dark Visions. You have to get a 100-point chain there. So obviously it can be done. There's just lots of little things. The quick light taps, the two-finger method, all that. Having the same element just makes the meter fill up faster, so with fewer hits you get a max chain, you can cap with it easier. If you can't do that at all, these tag team units, and there's a handful of these in the game that do chains automatically. The downside to this is that they're chains because it's only one unit doing their tag team move. Like the chain doesn't go as high. You'll see, I'm going to do it here. Even with a 3 ability chain, it does not get to the full 300%. It's only so good. It's only going to get you to 200% unless you have elemental weapons equipped. That way they are elemental chaining. It's going to build it faster. The nice thing about that is it works every time. You only have to worry about timing your finishing cap and your chaining move. So now to demonstrate the finishing cap, we're going to go into another turn here and show you why this is so important. So Ferris is definitely a LB finisher in her base form, and we're going to see some damage here. I'm going to skip the limit burst animation just because it is kind of a long one, but you'll see we're going to do some damage. Only 13 million damage. So it does 13 million damage, just not adding any kind of chain at all. And that's not that impressive, right? Obviously there's no breaks, there's no imperils, there's no nothing that we've applied to this boss, but the chain is going to be where the damage really comes from. So to make it really easy, I'm just going to do a bolting strike chain just because that's the easiest one. Timing this becomes really important because if you don't, then the finishing hit comes either too far into the chain or not far enough in the chain. You don't time it right. With Ferris's, you kind of wait until the dragon's head kind of rears back, and then you unload your chain. And we'll see if I can do this, and we should see a lot more damage, even though it's the same move, right? Let's see what we get. 13 million before. And we're just going to guard these two. 13 million up to 185 million. So you just get a much bigger spike of damage when you can time that chain properly and cap that. So those are my tips. You know, same moves, quick light taps. I love the two-finger approach. I find that if I'm tapping on kind of like the edges of my units, my phone like registers my taps a little bit better. So I kind of aim for like next to Zahn's head and right where it says limit on Alina to kind of time those taps a little bit better. Same elements are going to chain the build the chain faster. Tag team units if you are lazy or struggling or can't figure this out. And then trying to combine different families, which is one I didn't show yet. That's the last thing I wanted to show you. I forgot all about it. So I learned a trick recently where you can actually do an Oriole Ray chain into 2 Stardust Ray chains, and you get a perfect chain. So if you do, again, we're going to do, where is it? Oriole Ray and 2 Stardust Rays on 2 different units. And if you do this right, you get a 99 hit point chain, which if it's really hard to build a finishing cap into this because of the way Stardust Ray tends to break up, but like I've been able to pretty successfully get a 99 hit chain pretty much every time I do this. So let's see if we can do it and prove my point here. That would also get me 100 points if I factored in one more hit somewhere. I could theoretically, let's see, go ahead and guard here. I don't think I'll get one more. I'll get one more turn out of this. I could try and do it with 3 units. Let's see if I can do 3, if that gets us to 100. 3 is kind of like pushing it as far as like breaking the chain and risking that, but we're going to try it. Okay. Oriole Ray Stardust, and the hard part is, too, like, you might have enough units that have all the different chain families that can combine like that, Oriole Ray and Stardust Ray, but the moves might not be very powerful, right? Some of the modifiers on these moves are not that good, but with chaining and capping, the real point is the final hit, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see if we get it. Yeah, I got over 100, so I mean, that's technically better. It can be done. I feel like the Stardust Ray chains just break up too easily if you try to add more into it. So we're just going to go ahead and finish that up and be done with this demonstration for right now. Finished! We did some chaining and some capping. So to kind of wrap all that up, chaining is very important. If you struggle with chaining, you can go in and practice on it. Use some of these tips that you see on the screen, and hopefully you'll be working on your caps a little bit. So I'll get rid of this and go over here. As always, if you have any questions about what you've seen here, or if you have a question that you want to answer in the next video, feel free to drop a line and on the comments, and either in the Facebook group or on the YouTube channel if you see it there, and I'll be happy to try and address those as best I can. Have a good evening, guys. See you around in the game.